There's actually a pre-story to Airbnb that not a lot of people know about.
Let's go. Love it.
So it's 2005. I've just graduated from the Rhode Island School of Design in Providence, Rhode Island. And I had my sights set on moving out to San Francisco to be involved in the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's after graduation and I'm having a yard sale. So all my things are out on the grass and people are walking by and it's getting kind of late. I'm ready to go inside when this red Mazda Miata pulls up and this guy gets out. He starts looking through my stuff. He starts going through some artwork that I'm selling. He picks up a screen print that I made and he says, I want to buy this. So I sell it to him and we get to chatting. His name's Joseph. He's on a road trip going across the United States before going to the Peace Corps. And it becomes clear to me that this guy is totally solo and alone in Providence at night. And for whatever reason, he seems like a cool guy. And I say, hey, you want to grab a drink later? So later that night, we're meeting up at this old timey bar in Providence called the Custom House. And he's telling me all about the Peace Corps. And I'm telling him all about RISD. At this point, it's getting kind of late. And as I motion for the check, I make the mistake of asking the question, so where are you staying tonight? And he makes it worse by going, well, actually, I don't have a place. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, it's 12 o'clock at night. It's Providence. The hotels are probably closed. And before I know what I'm doing, I utter the words, why don't you stay on an airbed in my living room? And the minute I said it, I instantly regretted it. I go, what are you thinking?
Right.
I mean, I think this guy is who he says he is, but I don't know if he's going to the Peace Corps.
Right.
I don't know who he is. I don't want to get kidnapped and stuffed in the back of a red Mazda Miata trunk. That's a small trunk. And before I know it, we're back at my place. I've set up the airbed in the living room. I head to my room, close the door, and I lay there trying to fall asleep. I'm staring at the ceiling thinking, oh my God, what have I done? There's a random stranger in my living room.
Right.
Thankfully, get up the next morning, everything's fine. We go to brunch, amazing brunch. He goes off to the Peace Corps. I get postcards from him from all over the world when he's traveling.
Wow.
We're still friends to this day.
Wow.
He stays in my place anytime he comes to where I live.
Wow.
And the poster that he bought, the print that I made, hangs in his classroom in Chicago where he's a teacher. But that experience, I'll never forget. It was overcoming the fear of a stranger in your home, which I had a lot.
Yeah.
And seeing that there's something beautiful that can emerge if you're able to trust somebody. And so when I moved to San Francisco from Providence, I packed up my red Jeep Cherokee with all my possessions. If it didn't fit, I didn't take it. And one of the things that I fit in there was that airbed.
Mm.
And so the next year, 2006, into the next year, 2007, I got to San Francisco, which at the time was, to me, the epicenter of entrepreneurship. It was everything the first .com seemed to inspire me when I was in high school, watching the .com unfold from my bedroom in Atlanta, thinking, wow, one day I want to go to this mythical Silicon Valley place to be a part of this conversation, to start one of these internet companies. They were so exciting to me as a high school student. So here I am now. I'm in Silicon Valley. I'm in San Francisco, 2006. YouTube had just gotten acquired by Google. There was this influx of software engineers and entrepreneurs and talent to the city. The internet was coming back. This was like I think one of the most exciting times to be in Silicon Valley, 2006, 2007. So around that time, I start calling somebody that I knew from RISD, one of my best friends, a conspirator of ideas, a guy who I truly believed if you put us in the same room, we could think of big ideas together.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Brian Chesky. I start calling him. I said, Brian, I know you live in Los Angeles now after you graduated. I don't know what you're doing down there, but you got to get up to San Francisco. This is where the action is. And after a year of recruiting him, he finally says yes. He packs his life into his Honda Civic, courageously quits his job, moves to San Francisco. Here we are, two unemployed friends with all the potential. We're probably 25 years old at this point. And we're dreaming up all these ideas of things we could start together, when all of a sudden a letter shows up in our mailbox. I open the letter. It's addressed to me. It says, Dear Joe, your rent is now 35% higher. It's due on this date next month. Your landlord. I tell this to Brian, and both, like, all of the optimism and excitement completely evaporated. And suddenly there was this dark, stormy cloud that formed over our apartment of what the hell are we going to do? We're going to get evicted. That's what's going to happen. And it was suddenly our backs were against the wall. And we had to figure out, well, how are we going to solve this math problem? Our bank accounts are tumbling because we have no income, no paychecks. our rent has just gone up exponentially. We have to save this apartment. What are we going to do? And so we start sketching ideas, when one day I'm sitting in our living room, have my laptop open, and I've got the website open of a design conference that's coming to San Francisco. And this is not just the Bureau of Organic Conference. This is the international one with 5,000 people descending on the city. And so in big red letters at the top of the screen, it says, hotels sold out. Molly, like every light bulb went off over my head in that moment because I looked up over the edge of my laptop into the vastness of our tiny living room. And I thought, where are people going to stay? What if they stayed here with us? We're going to the conference. We want to meet people. This could be really interesting. I walk over to the closet. I pull out that same airbed. I blow it up on the living room floor. I email Brian and say, Brian, what if we host people in our living room on airbeds for the IDSA conference? Because it's a great idea. And actually, I got a tape measure out. I measured the room and I saw we could fit not just one, not just two, but 3 airbeds in the living room. So I ran to Bed Bath & Beyond, made our first, capital investment in our company. Inflated 3 airbeds. We started to make a website. It was a very simple 4-page website. Pictures of us, pictures of the airbeds, pictures of the neighborhood, priced very economically at $80 a night. And we decided, even at this very, this one weekend project, we wanted to design an experience. So we would offer airport pickup. We'd offer a map to San Francisco, a subway pass, and other things, including breakfast. So I'm laying in bed that night thinking, well, what are we going to call this thing? Well, it's kind of a bed and breakfast. It's for designers. Maybe this is an airbed and breakfast. So I get on to GoDaddy and I registered the domain airbedandbreakfast.com, 18-character URL. I don't recommend that. And the next day, later that week, we designed it and published this website. So now we have our next challenge. How do people hear about airbedandbreakfast.com? Well, we email the conference and we say, we have a solution to your housing problem. The conference loves the idea, blasts it out to 5,000 people. We also emailed it to design blogs. And Molly, at this point, I had never really gotten press. I didn't even know how you got press. How do you even get on a blog?
Right.
I remember we emailed them like tips@designblog.com, and it was kind of like a Hail Mary. Next morning when we woke up, it felt like Christmas with presents under the tree. We were at the tops of every major design blog around the world. And with that awareness, people started emailing us from all over, from Brazil, from London, from all parts of the United States. And we had so many people sending us, inquiries. They started to try to convince us why they should be the first guests on this Airbed and Breakfast website. We had the design portfolios, their LinkedIn profiles, their resumes. We finally selected 3 guests, Kat, Amol, and Michael, who were all over the age of 30. Michael was a husband and father of 5 from Salt Lake City. Amol was a grad student at Arizona State University, and Kat was a web designer from Boston. They all completely broke the profile that we had in mind of who might stay on an airbed in somebody's living room. Well, it's probably going to be a, recent college grad, kind of hippie. Maybe they don't, don't have a lot of money. This was actually very different. These are like professionals and family. And so that even in that first instance, it's sort of, it opened up our minds to like, well, maybe there's a wider range of people who would want to stay in people's homes when they travel. So that weekend, we had an amazing time with them. We gave them a great experience in San Francisco, our favorite burrito place in the Mission. We went to the conference together. We had house parties. They met our friends at night. It was a truly social experience. And I remember the day that they left, they checked out. The door clicks closed. I look at Brian. I go, did we just get paid to make friends?
Oh, wow. Right.
And
Right.
that's when the gears began to turn. And so at that point, we then brought on our third co-founder, Nate Blasharzik, who was my roommate in that same apartment. And he was the technical genius to match our design backgrounds. And so the art and science was a very powerful combination for us throughout the history of the company. And we began to build. And, it wasn't obvious even that this was going to be a big idea. We did this to make some extra cash, of which we made $1,000 that weekend, by the way. We saved our apartment.